Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I have a very special guest in my midst. Yinka, how are you doing?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Great. So I have Yinka Adewale today in the show, and Yinka is a very good friend of mine, and I'm really honored to have him today. So let me do a very brief introduction about Yinka. You can correct me if I'm wrong anyway.
Please go ahead.
So Yinka is a co-founder and CEO of Nomba, formerly known as Kudi.
Yes,
right?
That's correct.
Then he's a mechanical engineering graduate from Bafemi Awolowo University.
Great fair.
Yeah, that's great. Then also, Yinka has also founded other businesses in the past, which basically made up part of his story. One of it is Touch to Pay. I love that name, Touch to Pay. Then I also Sonwo. Is it Sonwo?
Yeah, it was Sonwo then. I think he morphed at some point, but
Okay.
I left.
Then he also did some medical startup as well. Clinic Fee.
Yeah, Clinic Fi. Yes.
Clinic Fi. That's great. You've done a lot of stuff, and it's really a pleasure to have him today. Him and his team are building the biggest omni-channel payment platform in Africa. Super amazing. I can't wait to hear more about that. And something I love about Yinka as well, that he's passionate about making payment easy and inclusive in Africa. That's something that I saw that somewhere, and I say, yeah, that's really very good. So Yinka, welcome once again to the channel, and we look forward to having you share your story. So my first question today will be, tell us how your entrepreneurship journey started. Africa is where you have a lot of powerful startups springing up, which Nomba is one of it. So how did it all come about? What is the origin? What inspired you to solve this problem you're solving?
Okay, mine was I think a bit accidental. So
okay.
I started writing software, very early. Started my programming career like age 11 or 12.
What?
But I've always just
then programming was not really a big thing. We were just
it wasn't, and I didn't even grow up in Lagos. So I grew up in Abeokuta. It's like you didn't even have power, not to talk of a computer. So it's like I will probably just like sneak into like the computer lab and just go try out my stuff on a few programming languages. But anyway, when I went to the university, I started building out like web applications and stuff. So even though I was studying mechanical engineering, I was trying my hands on just building projects for people.
But when you were already doing computer related stuff,
why did I take? I think it was a bit of arrogance. I kind of just felt like, what are they going to teach me that I already writing like Java and C# before university, so it was like, why go to school to go learn what you're already? So I said, okay, you know what? Let me. And I like machines, and I still have passions about engines and stuff. So I decided to go do mechanical engineering. Anyway, to cut the long story short, in my fourth year in the university, I was supposed to go take an internship. So the regular Part 4 IT program.
Yes, right? Everywhere we do that.
Exactly. So nice, I was, instead of looking for a mechanical engineering opportunity, I found a job where it was an entrepreneur in residence role in a fintech in Nigeria. This was like 2012 or 2013. So I pretty much just took the job. And so my job was like, I was building software at night, but I was selling the solution during the day. I was working with like different leadership team, in the company to basically build solutions for payments. And then we had, this like call it control room where the dashboards were, but I was an intern, we weren't allowed to
go in there.
So there was this particular day that, and we had like this CEO, very, strong face man, you don't go to his corner. So one day I walked to the control center and I saw this big screen and I saw these zeros, like I think it was 3 billion naira or something like that, that they had processed, and they were taking a fee. That was the first time in my life that I realized that technology businesses were actually businesses. Prior to then, I was reading TechCrunch, I was reading a bunch of what you just see. This person raised $5 million. This kid raised. So in my mind, I thought that this tech thing is just like people just raise money to do whatever. But like these guys were making money. I was like, I have to do this thing. So I went back to school, and like in 6 months, launched my own first payment startup.
While in school?
Yeah, in my university, my final year in school, raised $100,000.
What? As a student in school?
It was crazy. Like I went on LinkedIn, and there was this guy.
This is like Max story, man.
I know, right? So there was this, so the problem I was trying to solve was on my campus.
Yeah.
The only way people pay was cash because one, banks were not giving POS machines to merchants.
Yeah, back then POS was not
this
really
was
popular.
2013.
Yeah.
Students had cards, but we had to all go queue at the ATMs. So pretty much did a science experiment with a few friends where we launched these NFC cards,
Okay.
and then we had like a small agent network where you could top up the cards with cash. And then we had like 100 retailers on campus that had these smartphones that we gave them.
Okay.
And you just had to tap and pay.
Oh, you tap and pay.
Yeah, in no time, we had like 3,000 students using it.
What?
We're like making crazy money. And I was
in
final year in school, right? So it was like just a cool project on the side. But
and you did the coding, you did everything yourself and launched the whole.
Yeah. Wow. And then, of course, I needed money to, I think the biggest cost, right? The business was CapEx heavy. You had to buy the cards from China and the phones that the cards would work with.
Yeah.
So I was like, how am I going to fund this project?
That's where the funding came in.
So one day I went to my LinkedIn and, I looked at some guy that I've never met this guy before, but we had kind of just connected on LinkedIn, and he looked like somebody that could be an investor. Then I'm like, I'm building this thing that's going to be the biggest payments solution in Africa. Literally, my words was like, this is going to be bigger than InterSwitch, and I need money to do this thing. And this guy's like, I'm in for $25,000. Like, never met me before.
What?
Yeah. Never met me before. We jumped on a call, and it was actually a young guy as well. He was working in Canada at the time.
Okay.
And then we became friends eventually and literally invested the first $25,000 in the business. And that allowed us to scale to like 5,000 students on our campus. And eventually, towards the end of my final year, came to Lagos, talked to a few investors, raised $100,000, went back to school, and kind of just took it into about 3 or 4 universities and just scaled it from there.
Wow, that is amazing. That's amazing. As a student, you were able to, so you scaled to other universities and started using the same system in other places as well.
So it became like, people were using it for, even in Lagos, we were powering like the biggest events, Asha live in concerts. We did like a lot of events in Lagos. We were doing like bus transit projects in Lagos. Wow. A couple of state governments in the north were using it for tax collection. Even in Ogun State was using it for, like, it became a really big project. We probably, it's been a while, it's probably like 7 years ago. But like, it became a thing. Yeah.
That's really impressive. Yeah. So then how did Kudi come about? Because you've done this, so you've put your hands in there, you've gone into payment, you've practicalized it, you've learned, you've made mistakes, you've had successes as well. So how did you translate into doing Kudi? So tell us about Kudi and tell us how it all came about.
Yes. So I think the learning that I had from all of that experience was obviously building a product, trying to make money with it and all of that. But one of the things I soon realized, I think 2 years into the startup, was that one, we're kind of fragmenting an already fragmented space, right? Okay. So our own payment solutions were not connected to the entire banking system. It was just a closed loop system, right? And I wanted to do something more inclusive where, if you were a customer of a bank, you could walk in and use our solution. If anybody could use it beyond just our own type of customers. Yeah. And at the time, my investors and, my team and my co-founder then actually didn't believe that was a thing. They felt like we could sort of build our own card network, and kind of just become like another Visa, MasterCard. Okay. The way I saw it at that point was, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to create a card scheme. I think it was just more like, I wanted to aggregate
collaboration. Exactly. Bring those order.
Yeah. So the idea behind Kudi was, so I left the company actually, late 2016 and just spent like the next 6 months figuring out what to do with my life.
Next?
And, so I then reached out to one of my, very old friends from school, Pelumi, and I'm like, I have this idea, let's do payments, but now let's do payments that allows other people, use like their bank identification numbers and all of that to make transactions. So our first iteration actually was a Facebook chat bot. Okay. You could go on Facebook Messenger to send money to people. It was called Kudi.ai. And so we launched that January of 2017. And then we applied it to Y Combinator. This was the batch after Paystack and Flutterwave. So it was still, YC was still like a very
new stuff around.
New stuff, right? And then we got in and, YC funded us $120,000. Wow. And then we spent like 3 months in San Francisco figuring out how to scale this thing. And so what I'm pretty much saying is that the whole idea behind Kudi was, how do I build payments for like mass markets?
Yeah.
But it was also like a lot of people already have bank accounts, but they were just not being used enough, right? Or a lot of people didn't have bank accounts. How could we bank them and give them access to basic financial services?
Very interesting. So you know what really intrigued me was, at that time people were building fintech, thinking of, okay, how can I collect payment from people already online?
Yeah.
Users and merchants that have the capacity to put their product online. Then how can I help merchants get payment from these users? I already have cards all
Exactly.
over. But what you guys did is that you're thinking about the unbanked people.
Yeah.
And that's really a tough area, because at this point, if I'm going to put like an API somewhere online, just go and swipe your card and let me collect money. But you guys now went to the agent route. That's a more difficult route,
That
a
was tough.
more rigorous, capital intensive. So how, and this was way back in 2018, right?
Yes, 2018. Yes.
Yeah, and how were you able to figure out that this agent network is going to be a big thing? Right now, you have, I can't even imagine how many agent networks you have as compared to other agent network systems around. So how were you able to tap into the opportunity earlier enough to see that, okay, this is going to be a big thing in Nigeria?
So if you look at our journey, from Kudi to Nomba, initially we wanted to do consumer banking, and what we realized soon was that if you were going to scale consumer banking, so a lot of people that were signing up on our chatbots, for example, didn't have debit cards, and we wanted them to connect cards so that we can charge their accounts. So we soon realized that you could probably get to the first 1 million, 2 million, 3 million consumers that already had bank accounts. You could sort of like build a better user experience than the regular banks. But if you were going to scale like, banking to call it 40, 50 million Nigerian adults, you actually need a call it infrastructure that allows cash in to move in and out of digital platforms.
Exactly.
So for us, the agent network actually wasn't the entire picture. It was the first phase of our vision. It's like, let's build an agent network that allows people put cash in and cash out of bank accounts and digital wallets. So sometime in 2018, we launched our agent network. I think by the end of 2018, we probably had like 300 or 400 agents. But the thing was that the transactions were growing really fast. By Q1 2019, we probably already had like 4,000 agents. And at this point, actually,
and they're doing big volumes.
Yes,
right?
We're probably doing, can't remember now, it's been so long. But
Yeah.
so we then soon raised a $5 million Series A,
Okay.
in 2019 to then, and the old thesis of, behind that fundraise was, how do we figure out, how does this scale, right? How do you go from a business that makes $1 million a year to, $100 million a year?
Exactly.
So we said, one, we had to expand this network to north of 100,000 agents. So now we have about 186,000 agents and merchants on our platform across Nigeria. So we were also very intentional about just building this network across the country. So it's like every city you go, every state you are, every local government you we have to be present there. And so sort of like that's how we did it, and that's why we did it.
Wow. So tell me about the transition. Now you've rebranded. So what's the transition like from Kudi to Nomba? You have a huge agent network, and now tell us about Nomba as well. I know that you added some more features, and you have So just tell the viewers what Nomba is doing and how massive the experience is going to be for users.
Yeah, I'm excited about the new phase of our journey. The way I see it is, I almost think that our business has 4 pillars actually. So we think that at the base of the business is this thing we call the agent stack. And then when you move up a bit to the next step, you see something we call a merchant stack. And then we have a consumer stack and an API stack. Now, the agent network provides you that, foot on the ground infrastructure to move digital products, from point A to point B easily. Now, but if you think about merchant payments, right? So today, Nigeria has probably 40 million SMEs. Let's say about 5 million of those SMEs have like 1 or 2, 3 employees. The reason why people accept cash payments in Nigeria is because, if you think about the way the workforce in Nigeria is, right? Bulk of the population is employed by the informal market. 80% of the workforce actually works
Yeah.
for the informal market.
Yes, true.
The informal markets mostly accept cash as payments. So in turn, these guys pay their employees in cash.
Yeah.
The employees pay everybody in cash. So there's almost a systemic cash payment.
Yeah.
If you look at those of us that pay digitally, what happens is that you pay your employees in their bank accounts.
Yes.
And then they have cards and then they go pay other people digitally. So to actually digitize like mass market consumer banking, you actually have to digitize the SME such that the SME can accept payments digitally. They can pay suppliers digitally. They can pay employees digitally
as well.
And then it trickles down.
Yes.
So the number, pivot or expansion for us was call it like the first step into like business banking. So what we did was basically build like a POS solution for small retailers.
Okay.
What this allows you to do is as
a physical POS, right?
Yes, a physical POS. As a small retailer, you can download the Nomba app, you sign up, we give you a digital bank account.
Okay.
But beyond that, we also give you like a physical POS that allows you to accept cards, bank transfers as well in store.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So that means people can even allows you to record cash payments, right? So people can
so you can do a bank transfer using their device. Is that what you mean?
So what means is that if you walk up to a store, for example, today and you want to pay with transfers, right? Everybody can accept transfers. The problem is that they have to confirm from Oga, and Oga is probably upstairs. Right?
Yes.
And then
Oga is annoying when they will tell you you have to wait for confirmation.
Exactly. So what we did is that on the point of sale device, you would actually see a bank account number that you transfer the money to.
Okay.
And the point of sale device confirms the transfers and prints out the receipt instantly.
Oh,
so
nice.
that the cashier can reconcile.
Just that you're paying with your card.
Exactly. It's almost like a card payment, but it's based off transfers.
Wow.
So now the whole idea is, so the POS is call it like a wedge into like digital banking, because now at the back of the POS is then like a suite of mobile app and web app that actually gives you access to savings, credits, cards for these small businesses. And that's pretty much. And we're extending out a lot of other things like payroll into that solution such that
amazing.
These small businesses can almost digitize their value chain. And one of the other, interesting transactions I see, for example, is like we then facilitate tens of millions of dollars between these retailers and, distributors, for example, monthly, because the more you digitize the chain of transactions for small businesses, there's a lot of commerce that is built around them. And what Nomba is positioning to do is providing payments, accepting payments for the merchants, but also helping the merchants digitize all the other transactions they do.
So they can also take that payment they receive digitally to disburse to every...
So from employee payments to, to paying for a supplier, to paying utilities, to whatever transaction you need to do, we want to make sure that you can do them digitally. And the other thing is, when you think about growth for businesses, the reason why many small businesses don't even have access to working capital is because there's no data to underwrite, credit.
Exactly. This is something that I've also been really thinking about, because those guys do transactions, they do daily transactions, which is actually value for the business, and also leverage for them to say, okay, I'm doing XYZ every month. I want XYZ, to pay back, and the records are there for them to leverage and access funding and all of that. So you guys are really doing something powerful. So my other question is, and I believe I'll be asking this question for a lot of other startups as well. What's your thought around funding? Funding in Africa is a very huge challenge for a lot of startups. They have this fantastic idea. Some people have even started already. But receiving the funds, getting access to investors and getting access to funding to push that idea becomes a very huge challenge. And for you, while you're in school, you're able to access funding. So and I know funding has never been a challenge for Nomba and even your journey so far. So what will you tell startups that are having challenges raising funds to push their business? What advice and tips you have?
No, funding is hard. It's really
you
tough
can't
for
even
everyone.
kid us.
It's tough for everyone. And I think one of the hardest stage of funding that I have seen is when you actually just start. And the reason is that you're betting, you have to convince people to believe in your idea. Without, you don't have like records or traction to show sometimes, or the traction is too small for anyone to take you seriously. So the way, I have always, thought about funding is to actually never be in a place where you need funding. And it sounds really counterintuitive, but when I look at my journey, so for example, when I was raising my Series A in 2019, I was making $1 million a year and I was profitable.
Okay.
So the first thing was I actually didn't need money. So what happened was that like these funds basically came to me and said, we're going to put $2 million in your company and here's a $2 million term sheet. And I was like, I didn't need money. And then of course the investor looked at me and was
I'll be like,
no one says no to $2 million. Right?
Yeah.
But the truth is that we were building a business, like we're making enough money to pay our employees. Everybody was living a good life. So we didn't need the money. So, when they came back and said $5 million, I said, oh boy,
let's look at it again.
So if you think about it, like different cadres of companies, right? I think obviously you have to be a good storyteller to be able to raise money. People are trying to fund, and if you look at the way VC works, right? VCs are trying to fund companies that are going to give them $1 billion outcome. So today, if you're trying to raise a Series A and you probably don't make $2-3 million or $1 million a year, it's tough to do those types of round of funding, especially in the current markets that we are in. And then when you also think about growth stages, for example, you're trying to do a Series B, you probably have to be doing $10 million a year in revenues.
Wow.
I think the problem in our ecosystem that I've seen generally is that a lot of founders actually don't talk about the things you need to do for the funding to come. There's a lot of, this person just raised. So the way I see it is that, I think there's a mix of being a great storyteller, but also be brutally good at execution that you have to do at the same time. But the hardest part is when you just start because you have no resources to actually do anything. So the way I see how to navigate out of that, especially when you're a technology business, is one, making sure you have technical founding team. Because what that does for you is that the first 12 months, you're probably writing code. If you don't have money, but you can write code, you don't have to pay for anything. So for me and, my co-founder, for example, we pretty much wrote the entire code base.
Both technical.
Yeah, we're both technical. So we pretty much wrote the entire code base for the product to launch. So that meant like tens of thousands you would have been paying to engineers that might not even build what you want, probably working on a project part-time.
That's a good value.
Yeah. So I see it a lot that a lot of startups raise money at seed, right? People are trying to convince investors to give them money to build products. Investors don't think that way. Nobody wants to give you money to build your product. They want to give you money to scale the product, right? So you kind of have to build the product so that you should at least there's something there, and you have a little bit of. And VC actually funds like growth. That's what VC funds. Like it's like if you can't show consistently, like we call it like hockey stick, right? If you can't show like this thing moving to the moon, right? I was like, no, I'm not really sure. They will be like, we'll come back in 6 months, we'll come back in 12 months. That's a short answer for.
But you need money to make him get to that.
I know. It's tough. It's tough, and I think that the advice I always have for founders is one, as much as possible, have product and engineering talent on the founding team so you don't have to pay for it. And two is monetize as soon as possible. Because when you monetize and you have, especially right now where there's not as much funding happening globally because of inflation, recession, and a bunch of things. So VCs aren't like funding like crazy deals anymore. Everybody's like saying, okay, let's slow down and stuff. But great businesses would always be able to fundraise. And what making money actually and making a lot of money as a company does for is it gives you optionality, So, for example, there was a time last year that I was trying to do some fundraise, and I went into the fundraise just not even taking it seriously, and I got in a couple of term sheets, $8 million here, 15 there, and I didn't take a lot of those terms just because I didn't need the money because my business was generating enough cash flow to keep funding the. So, but I think that, but there are certain businesses that sadly, your monetizing is probably in the future. Like you probably need to get a certain amount of scale to be able to generate. So if you're building that kind of business, you have to be a great storyteller. You literally have to inspire people to say,
sell the future.
Building the future. And investors fund that actually. But like, if you're not convincing enough, you're not, like you basically have to be
audacious and confident. This is what it's going to be.
We are going to win. Like you have to, You look at someone with a straight face and ask for $50 million for nothing. I've seen it before done. And I always wonder why investors, and there was a time I was talking to an investor that just put in $200 million in a company that wasn't like doing much traction. And I was like, why? And first of all, he told me about the story of the founder. Like the founder executed in the past, they sold a couple of companies for $500 billion. So this is a OG, first of all, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is that the founder had like the future he was building. He wasn't probably going to make any serious money for the next 5 years, but like his story was believable.
Yeah.
And so a lot of
have a believable story.
Yes. A lot of people don't put enough time into planning for a fundraise. So when you go and meet an investor, when they ask you certain questions and you kind of like are not really sure, they're like, I'm not sure I want to back this guy. But for founders that are like very, and you see it, the founders that go look at most companies, even in Africa, that have raised like not $100 million, the founders are great storytellers. And you always have to be, you always have to be selling, always have to be raising, always have to be telling your story.
Yeah.
Someone is going to buy it at some point.
Definitely. So if you are looking to fundraise, man, you need to watch this interview because they great tips you shared.
Thanks a lot.
So there's this question I really love to ask, right? I follow Jack Ma a lot. Jack Ma says he's not going to write any book about his successes, right? He's going to write Alibaba 1001 mistakes. So you've done these ventures in the past. While you were in school, you've done all of this. And so what do you think is the greatest mistake that you have made? Because we can see the success, right? It's very obvious. So in your journey so far, what would you say is the greatest mistake you made, and what mistake I know you've mentioned some of it while you're talking about fundraising. The greatest mistake you've made in your journey, and also what do you see in the startup in Africa? What do you think is the greatest mistake that other founders are making as well, that you have also probably made in your journey as well, to just help people that are building out stuff?
Okay, so I think there's a lot of mistakes that I've made. There's a lot of mistakes that I'm currently making. But one of the things I have seen is, for you to be a successful founder or a successful company, you have to be a great judge of people and people's character, because ultimately you are as strong as the team that you build. The problem is that, and I think this even gets worse when you have so much venture capital that you've raised. So the thing with talent is that you're almost looking for undiscovered talent, but like great talent at the same time. So the challenge sometimes with discovered talent or people that are like experts is that they might not necessarily be motivated enough, and they're not trying to prove a point to So what I have seen is, or one of the mistakes I have made is that you're trying to hire someone, you have something exciting you want them to work on, but they don't want that thing as bad enough for themselves. Like, if the person is not trying to succeed for themselves,
it's that's for internal motivation, that's zeal, that man, I'm going for this with a lot of energy.
So what we do mostly is that we look for people that tell us like, oh, Chidi, I really want to work for you, I like what you're doing, but most times it doesn't quite work that way. It's people that there are people that probably work in your team that those guys, the success that they're chasing is not really for you alone. It is that they're trying to make something happen. They're trying to create magic. They're trying to, build something that people love. But most times it's easy to, pass over hiring people like that, because they might not look like, they might not speak the right English, they might not have the right packaging and all of that.
But they have that zeal.
But they have that zeal, and they have that ability to create,
to learn. I mean, because that's the most important thing: learning and being able to grow as fast as possible.
Exactly. And I think that it goes for even investors and founders as well. There are a lot of people that are building great companies that are just undiscovered, because they probably are not the loudest in the ecosystem. Nobody knows them. There are a lot of undiscovered talent. So it's easy for an investor as well to look at them and just be like, I'm not really sure. But then you see these guys in 5-10 years from now building amazing companies, and investors will be like, oh, I missed this deal because and when you look at it, the reason why they missed the deal was the guy just didn't look, the lady didn't look like, the regular, kind of box that they are looking for, right? So it's like, how do you find talent even when it doesn't look like it? It's really tough, but I think that it's one of the greatest, virtues that you need to have when you're thinking about success and succeeding, rather.
Nice. Okay, so let's wrap up on on one area, then we'll just quickly chat on the other side as well. So where do you see Number in the next 5, 10 years? Like, just tell us the big vision of
Okay.
Number within the next couple of years. What are we expecting? What's that huge?
No, there's a lot of exciting stuff that we're working on.
Yeah.
Obviously, one of the new space that we are in now is powering retail payments in stores, supermarkets, and we're trying to get that solution to as many businesses as possible in Nigeria. But we're also thinking of internationalizing the business. So there are a couple of markets that we're trying to get into, get the license, get the partnership done, and just take this, from Nigeria to the world, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we, scale in Nigeria to 1 million merchants in the next, 18 to 24 months, for example. That's one of our immediate goals. But it's also, how do we take this from Nigeria to a few other markets and just build payments for emerging markets? I think that's one of the opportunities we find really exciting. And I think that 10 years is a long time. I don't know everything about the future.
Exactly.
But I think the thing when you think about commerce and transaction and payments is the market itself grows like every year because more people, are moving up, either economic ladders, more people are, digitizing their transactions. So there's just like a lot more volume. So if you think about the volume of transactions that happens today, in 5 years, not even just for Number, just as a ecosystem, like the possibilities are just a lot because a lot of transactions are still done in cash. So as much as of those transactions that we can move to digital platforms, that's a lot of success for the ecosystem at large.
Wow, interesting. I'll tell you one thing I really love about your business model and what you guys have done so far is the impact.
Okay, my name is Mr. Lawrence Jorams. I've been with Nomba for 1 year now, and regarding their customer service and their services, I've enjoyed them. I want to appreciate Ose. Ose has done a nice job in the customer service. Each time I call her, she's quick to respond, and the service, with Nomba, have been very awesome. Compared to some other POS services, I've enjoyed Nomba very, very well. One of the products I enjoy, working with Nomba is the loan. Now, it's a 24-hour service loan, and it has really kind of boosted my business. It has helped me to, assessment is very easy. Very easy. So far, you are qualified for it. Very easy. They give it to you, direct into your wallet. You can easily, transfer it and make use of it. And it's been helpful to me. Nomba is not just one of those POS companies. This is a special company, and I want to advise anybody who wants to be part of it to feel free. There's no need to be scared of anything. I've enjoyed it, and I tell you, you will also enjoy it.
There are some businesses that really have huge amount of impact. Imagine you have over 150,000 agent network. These guys are making money from the platform.
Yeah,
they're feeding their family, they're sending their kids to school, and now 150,000. Now, when you now say, okay, what's the value? The value I'm creating, how many people is this impacting, putting food in their table and all that? That's millions of people. Well done to you guys. Well done to the team. You guys are really, really doing something massive, and I wish you guys all the best. So, what do you do when you're not working for Nomba? What do you want, right? Who is Yinka out of Nomba?
Out of Nomba. Well, first of all, thanks for bringing me to CrossFit.
Yeah.
I feel like I was reading a book a while back. It was written by Curtis Jackson, popularly known as 50 Cent.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's not enough to work hard. You actually have to live a life that gives you the strength so that you can concentrate and actually, have enough energy to work every day.
Exactly.
And so 50 was like, he cannot miss a workout in the morning because that's how he gets this
power,
this energy to just like, at first I felt like, this guy was just but of course, when you come to CrossFit and you're humble, right, you feel like, okay, there's something here. And I feel like at the end of the day, for me, I don't get to do a lot of things, but I come to the gym as much as possible.
Yeah,
it's a great community in this gym.
And I can see, it's forming up.
The young shall grow. Yeah, but I also like, I like to to just like rest as much as possible, spend time with family, you know, travel on vacations, and just, I guess, anything that helps my mental health, you know. Anything that is like noise and loud, that's not me. Or anything that is like calm, you know, it's like go to the beach, read a book, sleep, watch Netflix. That's me.
Nice. Nice. So what's your final word for, you know, because trust me, you're a very big inspirator and motivator for a lot of young startups, you know. So just pass a final word to them. What will you advise, like someone in your shoes, let's say 5-10 years ago? Yeah, what you've done. So final words.
Yeah, there's an article, I think it was written by one of the partners at A16Z, one of these venture funds. I can't really remember, but the title is The Struggle. And it talks about how, you know, when you're an entrepreneur, it's struggling. You know, you wake up on one side of happiness and then another email comes. And many times you're going to question why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's going to look at you like an idiot at some point. Like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. But he ended that, you know, article on a strong note. And he was like, this is like stuff of legend. This is what separates, you know, the girls from the women. And that the truth is that if you struggle and you fight through, you might lose actually at the end of the day. You might still not win. But like, it's the only way, you know, like, and there's a chance that you will win. And the thing in technology is that yesterday actually can be very different from today. And I've seen it a lot. You're like, you see a company that's struggling today. They don't know what they're doing. The founder looks clueless. In 6 months from now, this guy is making so much progress. You know, it's made a tweak to the product. And what happens is it's just that consistency of just wake up every day.
And keep grinding.
Keep at it, keep pushing. It takes decades for many of these things to happen. It takes years. But like, at the end of the day, everybody that you've seen that has done like great stuff is pure grind, hustle, pain, and just pushing through.
Nice, man.
Just push through.
Nice, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. It's really, really a huge pleasure. Awesome interview. I'm going to go back and watch this interview several times myself because I need to learn a lot of stuff. Thank you so much, Yinka, for coming to this interview. And I'm so grateful. Have a good one. So if you've not subscribed, man, tell them to subscribe to my channel, man. Let them try for me now.
Button. Let the followers grow.
Let the followers grow. All right. Bye-bye.